It's like, well, with your character Emma, I love the fact that she's a bail bondswoman, and I was overthinking this already. You know, the fact that you know, you're carrying her to safety, fighting your way to that. You know, she's like experiencing swords and blood.
That's her one experience with her father, yeah.
Right. It's like, Dad's a killer,
Yeah. And I also
that's where she gets her toughness.
Exactly. It's in my bones. It's my fairy tale blood rising up.
Can we ask you to just just a little and fit all three?
I also think that it's not an accident that she's a bail bonds person. You know, part of what you get trained to. I've actually read books on how to become a bail bonds person, which were fascinating, and actually humorous at times.
Like a step-by-step.
There are step-by-step books as to how to become a good bail bonds person.
Bail bonds for dummies, or
I'm not that far, but yes, pretty much. And but I feel like what drew her to that is that she's believes that she was abandoned her whole life, and part of what you get trained to do is find people. And her search her whole life has been to find her parents. So I think that, you know, it's not an accident that she was drawn to a profession where that's what you learn to do. And ironically, she can track down anyone, and she has the skill and the prowess and the physical ability to handle herself in those situations, and yet she cannot find her parents.
So she's searching for her parents so much. Why is she then what seems like rejecting her son when she knows exactly how he feels?
Well, I think that she knows that she was not in a place in her life to be a good parent. And when she made that decision, she wanted to give him, like they say in the pilot, you know, I really wanted to give him his best chance. And for him to come back to me and interrupt that life feels like, no, I gave you a better life. You should just have the better life. They want you. And I think that's also what keeps her in Storybrooke, is that she believed that she did the right thing, and now the fact that maybe she didn't is going to kill her. I mean, she cannot leave until she knows he's okay, because she won't be able to live with herself. The only reason she's been able to live with that decision for the last 10 years is because she's convinced herself that he's got a better life without her.
So does Prince Charming have conscious thought while he's in his state?
Oh, yeah, of course he does. Yeah, he's always thinking and dreaming.
Do you know yet where the producers are going? If you're going to wake up and you will have known what was going on?
I might, but I couldn't say.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Jennifer, I love the fact that Snow White's got the potential to be kick-ass.
Yay!
Yes.
You see that at the wedding. I mean, you know, he's going, no. You're going for the sword.
Yeah.
It's the only kind of woman Prince Charming likes.
But she is a little impulsive and impetuous, and I think that's, you know, it may not always end up being a good thing that she's got.
We balance each other out.
Yeah, there you go.
In the marriage.
There you go.
You're less emotional. You kick ass.
Yeah, there you go.
I like it.
So, coming off of long-running series, what made you want to jump back into the pool again into what will hopefully be another long-running series?
I at first didn't. I mean, not because of this script, but just in general, wasn't thinking that was going to be the next thing. But the script was just so special, and you come to realize, having been on a long-running show, you come to realize that special things come along only every once in a while, and you can't just sit back and let them pass you by. This was something that once I read it, I was like, I can't not do this.
Yeah, I had the same reaction. I wasn't looking, well, I was reading television scripts because frankly I was fed up with everything that I was reading in the film world, and started reading the pilots. I mean, I wrapped Big Love in December and started reading the pilots in January and realized, you know, early on, oh, this is where all the great writers have gone. And I had been on a show for so long and had not read other TV series, and I didn't realize that maybe Big Love was not like an anomaly, that there are so many good television scripts out there. And you know, TV really allows you to dig your elbows in a way that film really doesn't. You have an hour and a half to tell a story in film, or like 3 hours, the way we make movies now. But who can sit for that long? But I really think that there's something special about growing with a character and changing with a character and really exploring the kind of things you just don't have the luxury of time to do in filmmaking. And when you have writers like Francis Horowitz, you know, you just go along for the ride.
There's just no words for those guys. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, after the pilot, I thought, okay, the pilot was genius, and I know the next script's going to be great, but like, how are they going to follow that up? And then I'm like, save it better.
Yeah.
It's just like, I just can't even.
You're speechless.
I am.
I literally am. It just makes you just feel like, oh my God, how did this happen? You know, it's very cool.
I'm being mouthy today, but I got to note the irony of your tattoo.
You are the first person to bust me.
I was going, shouldn't it be a pair? Shouldn't it be a pair?
Yeah, right. Well, and I love that you noticed the pair.
Well, we were talking about that with the producer. Yeah, Robert.
I've wondered if anyone would notice that Mary Margaret has quite the distaste for apples and doesn't know why. No, and I wish they'd let me use my tattoo on the show, but they're not going to let me. To me, apples, of course, symbolize wisdom and purity and all kinds of things. But I love the thought that the apple is something that Snow White uses as a symbol of survival. This is the thing that she overcame, and it's like a reminder to her. Yeah, but they're not going to let me.
Now, at the beginning, the characters mentioned their immortality. Is that going to come into play again in Storybook?
Well, I think that's the hope. I mean, that's part of the story over the long run is will Emma be able to fulfill this prophecy and be able to begin the final battle, which that battle will last as long as it takes to either succeed or not succeed in restoring the Enchanted Forest and the idea of happy endings. So that's the journey we're watching, is whether or not that's possible.
And hopefully it's a really long battle.
Let's hope. That's going to be years and years.
So that clock's ticking now, so everybody's back in real time in a way, right? Everyone's aging.
Well, it begins. It started now.
Yeah. And how is it working with a young co-star like...
That's for you.
Yeah.
You know, it's wonderful and has its challenges. I mean, mostly from the hours perspective, because kids are only allowed to be on set for a certain amount of time, which is not the child's fault, and is there to protect the child. But especially in the pilot, Henry and I had so much work together that we would only have time to shoot his side of things. So a huge percentage of my performance in the pilot was me talking to the back of the script of the writer's head and having to hope that I was imagining and remembering and recreating his performance on the other side. So there is that downside of having to just deal with the technicalities of not having that many hours with a child. But you look at that little face and you just melt. I mean, he's such a hard worker and he's a good kid, and he just is Henry now. He just became Henry. He's just that little precocious but loving little guy. And I think for me, I kind of experienced a lot of the emotions that Emma experienced. I was just sort of thrown this child that I was spending all this time with, and I thought, how do I handle this, and what do I do with this? And it became this relationship that developed over shooting the pilot, and he's just, he's a sweet kid. He comes and he's like, good morning, and gives everybody hugs, and it's nice to have that youthful energy around and that innocence,
Was it your destiny, or was it Emma's destiny to have Henry?
I think in the mythology that probably will be revealed. There are things that I know that I will not tell you.
I'll buy you booze. Whoa! Damn it! I want to know.
And when you watch, you will know. They have. Eddie and Adam, I mean, once again, they just blow my mind, the stuff they come up with. They sit and they tell us stuff, and I'm like, no way!
They so think outside the box.
This is just the detail of the mythology that they've come up with. I literally sit and talk with them, I feel like they watched the show for 6 years, and they're just telling me about it. It's just how does your brain work in a way where you can kind of connect all this complex mythology without having it all have happened yet, And they just... they're just completely inspired to be writing a story like this, and you will see what that all means, and who's Henry's father and how that plays into mythology, and it's all very intentional and very important.
Tune in. Sunday nights.
Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.